Well, welcome to the live stream. Just check the audio, make sure it sounds good. That looks good. Check the ATEM Mini, believe it or not, Pro is now in the back seat. And we bring the light up here a little bit. Sorry about that. The ATEM Mini Pro is in the back seat, and the ATEM Extreme ISO is in the front seat. And I think you probably, if you've been following me here live, you've probably seen that. Just want to make sure that I looks like I've got audio levels sitting out. If you are on tonight, give me a shout out. I see Ryan Harper. Thanks for joining me, Ryan, from Dallas. That's amazing. Just a little bit of an overview of where we're headed, just so you can decide if you want to stay or go. And I hope that thanks for joining, Freddie. It's good to see you. So tonight I want to share a little bit of behind the scenes look. We finally got to go to the other venue. I want to show just a little bit of video. It's about 3.5 minutes. I'm going to play that on the hyperdeck for those of you that are learning and growing here. I have a little announcement. I've seen such a influx of people looking on YouTube to how to use the hyperdeck, how to set it up. Even this week when I was working with another client, we learned some new things. So I'm planning on doing a video series very soon to break that down. It's going to be available right here on YouTube. My channel's not sponsored by Blackmagic Design, but bring it on, guys, if you want to. I'm enjoying the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO, and I'm just still learning the paces. I have a few tricks up my sleeve I'm going to show you tonight. You may have already seen one. But we'll talk about that shortly. So we're going to look at the behind the scenes of the venue, because in reality, this is a continuation of a series on Tuesdays that I talked about home studios, and now mine's a home studio using the ATEM Extreme ISO versus the large streaming venue. And I'm working with a couple venues here in the Tri-Cities, not necessarily consulting with them, but just working with them because I have connections with these large churches because of my history here in this area. I've been here for most of my life, and I got a chance to go behind the scenes on 3 of those venues. I've only shared one of those, and that was the Garden. Tonight, we're going to look at C3. C3 is a venue that my wife and I have attended, and a good friend of mine who was a producer in my old recording studio, a very good producer, is now in charge of all of the technical stuff and all of the teams. And so he was so kind to let us dive in there. And we're going to look at some footage from there. I got a chance to take my older son, Christopher, so you're going to see him. And that's going to be kind of exciting to share. It was exciting to share that moment with him. He's not going to be live in the studio tonight, but he's going to be in that video. So shout out to those guys at C3. Thank you so much. And that's a venue right here in our area, a very large venue. And so that's exciting. And then we're going to look at a couple things I have here on the desk behind the scenes. And then I want to share a couple things about the ATEM Mini Extreme as I'm learning. And again, like I said, it's integrated with the hyperdeck, which is what I use to play videos. I can also play animated graphics with it. Tonight, we're going to use it just for videos. So anyway, so tonight, comparing those 2 venues. So I want to cut to that clip here real quickly. Let me just see anybody else is on there. Isham, great to see you from Toronto, Canada. Wake, that's cool. So that's awesome. Dallas and Canada. And Freddie, I know where you're from. I'll keep it a secret until you share it. But I want to shout out for you guys for joining me on live. I'm incredibly thankful. And I hope that you learn and grow in this. Now, one of the things I wanted to say tonight, and to remind you why I stream live and why I'm doing this every Tuesday, is I feel there's so many people out there with questions and wondering what to use in their studio and how it integrates. And so we do a lot about that here on the channel. And then I also have videos I upload. I just uploaded a video on behind the scenes here in the studio, recording a podcast. My table isn't set up right now. I have my chair set here, but there's a table that goes right here, and my wife's podcast called More About Birth. You can watch that video, and I kind of do a breakdown behind the scenes. You see me here in this station I'm recording, you actually see me talking to this camera and also with my back turned, because I was actually showing picture in picture while I talked to my wife and her co-host, Angie. And so that's here on the channel, just uploaded that a few days ago. And so tonight, as we look into this venue, I just want to say this. Not every venue that I've seen are using the same equipment. A lot of them are using, that I know personally, are using DSLRs just like I am here. And then I've had Panasonic cameras as well. I used to have a cinema camera, HMC 150, shot up to 720p, all on SD cards, had ND filters built in, had XLR inputs, and I miss some of those things that are on those traditional cameras. Obviously, some of you may be using Blackmagic Design cinema cameras. The first venue that we did, which is right here on the channel, they use now 3 Ursas, which they just purchased. So it's just, you know, it's incredible stuff that's out there available for you. But you could stream with a 1080p webcam, you know, by using OBS. Obviously, you can't use a webcam in an ATEM, so you'd have to get a cam link. And I try to keep mine here handy, but I don't see it right now. So had it out yesterday, but it's cam link, just a little adapter. And you can use that to put your HDMI from your DSLR right into your PC or your Macintosh, and then it'll appear as a webcam. Obviously, the ATEM Mini, the very first Blackmagic Design little switcher that was available for under $300, it had just a USB-C out for you to use it in live streaming, so you'd have to stream through software. And then the Pro came out with encoding built in, H.264, the Pro gave you the ability to record the program view. Then after that, after I purchased the ATEM Pro, they came out with the ISO, which would record all 4 inputs plus the media that you would put up on the program view. So you'd have a program view recording and also the ISO recordings, and then you could pull that in and remix it inside DaVinci Resolve. And if you have Blackmagic cameras, they added updates, firmware that you could operate the cameras from inside the software. And now with the ISO and the extreme ISO, you have the ability to control Blackmagic Design cameras right from the front of the Surface. So, and we'll talk more about the Extreme as we go. I'm kind of paying attention to the videos that are out there as I learn on YouTube, and I want to really fill in the gaps with what I do here on the channel. So feel free to get out there and listen to some of the guys that I listen to on YouTube, because it's a growing culture, and I hope you're growing with me. I'd love to find out if you are streaming live or what you're using. So if you'd like to send me that in the messages tonight, I'd love to acknowledge it. If you have any questions, I will be answering questions before we go tonight. So be thinking, obviously, maybe wait for towards the end so that you can see what I cover tonight, and then you can dive in to the questions. So again, the Extreme has a lot more to manage. I always have people ask me if I'm going to use my macros, and I do have some macros in my ATEM Extreme right now. And it's mainly the one I'm using is to reset my SuperSource. And I'm going to show you that here in a second, just to give you a taste of that. And we'll dive more into SuperSource probably next Tuesday, because the time I'm going to use today to talk about the venues, and finish up this series on home studios versus large venues, then we'll be able to just touch in more on the Extreme and the Extreme ISO. And really, the only difference is the ability to do ISO recording. The Extreme has all the other features that the ISO has, except for that one. And I'm absolutely loving the dual HDMI outs, and I'll talk more about the things that really stand out to me in the near future. So obviously, if you have SuperSource set up, right, then it's going to be, if you set up your multi-view, you're going to have it in your multi-view, and you're going to be able to cut to it. And so I'm going to do that right now. And let's see if you see a little effect go across the screen as I do that. So I'm going to hit the button for SuperSource, and bang. I don't know if you saw that. Just see if you see that. But that little effect going across the screen, that is the logo feature. and that is actually set inside the software and the keys, and you turn on the logo effect. And in this view, obviously you can see this camera, and you can also see my down on my table camera. And you can also see some of the stuff that we're gonna touch base on here right next to my water. So this is the SuperSource layout that I set up just so I could demo it and play with it. This is not really one of the presets. I've rearranged these and set them up, and then I will save the settings in my ATEM, because one of the firmware updates lets you save the state you're in right now. So all of the media that you have in the pool and all of the settings, including the SuperSource settings. And if I was to click on one of the presets, then it would default to the presets, and whatever I have assigned to window 1, window 2, and window 3 would just automatically go into the other ones. And if I didn't have anything assigned to window 4, which isn't on the screen right now, then it would just be a blank. And again, we'll talk more about that next Tuesday. So this is SuperSource, but I love this effect. So I have my name go across. I have another graphic that I designed. I just haven't put in the media pool yet. That'll say Life Journey Production Studios. It's long, so it's a lot tinier, but this is just in my media pool, and then I'm assigning that effect to play it right on the gap. So it just sits right between the two screens and follows that line across, and that's what the logo does. And when you look on your, and I'm pointing right here, so I can cut to that screen. So that is 3. Let me just cut to it. See if picture-in-picture works here? Yeah, but it's kind of in the way, so I'll pop that off here. So right up here, you have logo assigned to MP1, Media Player 1, and that means that Media Player 1 is going to be that graphic. And so I could assign any graphic in Media Player 1 to the logo, and it would go across the screen. Now, obviously, you have to design it so it's clear on the right, like a PNG, like a lower thirds, and clear on the left, so that all that's on the center of the screen that goes across, and you make it right in the center of a frame. So this frame that we're sitting in here right now, let's change this back to camera 2. This frame that we have right now is gonna sit right in the middle when you make that, right in the middle when you make that PNG file, and then you drop that into the media player, assign it to the logo switch. You can do that on the matrix, or you can go inside your software, and you must turn that effect on. And again, we'll go into details on that effect next week, because there's some steps that you need to take you through. And then you can change the way it works so that it reverses angles, and that's what I've set. That's another little click button on the software that you can set to make it go forward and back. And so right now I'm cutting obviously between those two cameras. Let me go back to my SuperSource here. And so back to SuperSource. So you can see my desk, you can see my profile, and again, I'm just showing off the SuperSource. I can assign anything to these boxes through the SuperSource. It's a pretty simple interface. You just have box 1, box 2, box 3, box 4, and when you click on box 1, right below it is what output you're going to assign to it, or what input you're going to assign to it. And then you click on that, and it gives you everything that you can potentially assign to that channel. And you can do up to 4 boxes. And then I could take my downstream key and put graphics right on top of here. Right now, this one graphic obviously doesn't look that great because it's not designed to be on the SuperSource. So I could set that so it only changes with my camera. And that graphic, as you can see, and the reason I left it up here is it's actually a potential way to do titles on your SuperSource. So let's cut back to this. So again, SuperSource is a great feature. It's only available now in some of the higher end 2MEs and above, and the ATEM Mini Extreme and the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. And again, I think we should throw the Mini off because it's not small at all. So let's cut to my desk camera and just show you the size here. I want to clean up just a little bit here. Cut to camera 3, and then I'll pop in picture-in-picture now. not working for some reason. So again, here's the Pro, and you can see the size of, let me move this just a little bit. So you can see the size between the two of those devices. So they're quite a bit more buttons, quite big when you look at it. So it is not a small device at all, but it's a cool device. So again, I love that effect. It is pretty cool. I can cut between that camera and this camera, spin around, and it's just a cool effect. So however you would use that, it's one more thing that's available for you in the ATEM Extreme and the ATEM Extreme ISO. So now I want to kind of change gears and get into this venue. Again, I want to say thank you to Jason Vorpagel for allowing me to get behind the scenes. I hope that you guys will enjoy this little 3-minute clip. I'm actually going to do some talk over it because there's a lot of music playing in the background that's not licensed, so I had to mute that. So I'll give you a little walkthrough as we go. You're going to hear a few moments where you'll hear me talking to the venue, and you're also going to see my son Christopher in this clip. So let's cut to that and change videos here. And let's roll it. Hey, it's Keith. We're going to look at C3. It's a large venue here in the Tri-Cities. I think they have a pretty cool logo. Here's a look at the cameras that they're using. We're going to go behind the scenes. It's not a big rehearsal night, but they invited us backstage. So shout out to Jason Vorpagel and the team here at C3. Let's take a look at what they're doing with technology right here for video production and for live streaming. So right here is their auditorium, and those are the two cameras on the floor, and then they have two handhelds. And you can see up on the wall there above the sound booth is one of their Piezo cameras, and those are Panasonic's. Here's a closer look at the two Sonys they're using. There's one of the Piezos that they are using. And there's two of those in the venue, and they can operate those in their big control room, which is pretty cool. And there I am sitting in the very back row, and that is their sound booth. You can see the sound panels. This church venue has done a really good job. This is the Ross control panel. And you can see that's their control room, which I think is really cool. Some of the monitors are off, but they can actually control two venues. Wow, so they have a venue in the back of the building. Lighting. You're going to see a footage of that, and a venue in the main building. And both of those go in the mornings. So two venues in one big building.
So you have a lot of control 9 that's being sent out, and it's a computer right there, and that's a feed to YouTube, Facebook.
And this is just in-ear monitors.
Yep.
They're Digico board.
A lot of things are flexible nowadays.
You put a lot of your money in the software.
Yep.
Remote cameras on the stage. Those are Teradeks.
Receiver, and then on the camera, it actually has a send for the video signal. And they're able.
And then again, another shot of the Piezo up close. Those are remote control. I know some home studios that use those as well. Some of these clips I played twice so you can see it twice. Those are the ear-in monitors. That's pretty incredible. And then that's the rack of QSCs. Here they are on the stage. Two big projectors, confidence monitor in the back. And that's the back venue. That's my buddy Jason right there on leading that group. On the right, Jason Vorpagel, shout out. And my son, Christopher. So short little clip, but I wanted you to see that here's another venue. They have very high-tech equipment. Obviously, you got to see the rack for the QSC amplifiers that power their speakers, but they also had other things in there in that back room. So a separate room for all of that equipment, isolated, and they had a keypad with everybody that has access have a card, and they can change that all the time. Same with their sound booth, and then behind the sound booth is a big gigantic room. They even have some offices in there where they edit graphics and do all the planning. So even that night of rehearsal, when they had a limited group of people out, there was still staff there in the back getting graphics together, coordinating other things, and they have their offices right in that area. And then that big control room. So you have people looking towards the auditorium. On the other side of that wall where all the monitors was that giant auditorium. And then if you turned around, there's another wall there with some more devices there and monitors, and they can adjust those cameras at different angles. They have 2 people with remote cameras using Teradeks to send that signal, and they do remote on the stage. And I'll put a link here. I'll put a link here to one of the live events so you can see them actually doing it. Just keep in mind, it is a church, so you're going to hear kind of what they do during a normal Sunday when they broadcast live. So again, that's C3 right here in the Tri-Cities where I live, state of Washington. The 3 cities stand for Kennewick, Pasco, Richland, even though there's about 7 cities around our area that are all like right next to each other, but it's been called the Tri-Cities for years and years and years. So that's kind of the last kind of ditch. I mean, I do have some footage of another venue here I may share in the future, and I may even have that team eventually here with me in the studio where we can have a little conversation about the steps that they've gone through to live stream. And they have 2 HyperDecks that they're not even using right now in their studio, but they have them purchased, part of a package. And I was kind of shocked. I wanted those 2 HyperDecks because they weren't using them. And then I offered my services to get them up and running. So hopefully they will get those HyperDecks up and running. But they're mainly just televising the music, and then in that venue, and that's called Crossview, and it is broadcasting the message on that Sunday morning service. I'm hoping to get into some venues that aren't churches to look at what they're doing as well. I have my ears out and my contacts out. I'm looking for an open door to do that, and I also want to visit some other home studios that are live streaming here in my area as well, and give you a behind the scenes of those, because I just want to make sure that I'm not missing any really cool gear if there's some really cool gear available out there. So obviously that just keeps me in tune with what's going on. So I've shared this before. I did a mic review, but I do have a shotgun microphone. I use this mainly when I'm out shooting video production. I also have a mount right above me that I can put it on, and I'll show you that here in a little bit with my iPhone. But this is a Rode NTG3. I love the sound of this mic. They have an NTG4, which is not, I don't think it sounds as good. It's very close. And then they have a powered version of that. This takes phantom power. The other one does as well, but the phantom power is built inside it. It has, I believe it has rechargeable battery port that you can put on that one. But so I wanted to talk about this because I have it out with a windscreen, because one of the things that I use here in the studio, and before I talk about that, you saw me in that video clip right in the very beginning with doing that intro. I was wearing the Rode LAV Plus. This is about $69, $70 US. This is a great microphone. I used my lightning adapter to plug it into my iPhone, and it's got the TRRS 1/8 inch jack, and this is a great microphone. It doesn't need much power. In fact, you got to go in your iPhone and turn down the preamps because it gets very loud. But this is a lapel mic, and you saw the string actually in the video because I pulled far enough back so Christopher could get me in the frame and the C3 logo, and you can see that that cord's not super long. I have an extension I didn't take with me. I wasn't planning to do a lot of talking in that video, just some behind the scenes clips, because you're already hearing me talking in the live stream. So That's the Rode LAV Plus mic. I usually have a link. I make sure that link is in the bottom on this video once it goes up after the live, and you can check that out. Again, those are affiliate links, so keep that in mind if you use them here on my channel, and I appreciate that. So wanted to get that out of the way because I wanted to show you two devices I have. This is XLIve makes a wireless version of a phantom power kit, and this is the charging cable. It's a dual charging cable, which I like. I'll talk about that in a minute. But here's the kit, and these have batteries built into them, so you charge them through USB. Here's your little USB adapter, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But here they are, and I can use these right here in the studio, which I'm going to demo it right now. So they make one again with phantom power, one without. So you'd use this on a condenser microphone that needs phantom power, obviously. If you want to use it for a handheld microphone like a dynamic that doesn't need phantom power, then you'd buy the other version. Hopefully one day they'll come out with one that has the ability to turn it off. But this one actually goes between 48 volts and 12 volts. So, and that's right here. And this is the receiver. This is the receiver right here, and this is the transmitter. And on the transmitter, you have 12 volt phantom power and a power button here. I don't think this is going to focus because I have it set on eye detect. So let me do this, switch the camera 3 here. It hasn't shut off yet. Has it? Nope. So you should be able to see that now. And so I can switch this power button on, it lights up. And then I have a button right here to change channels. And I have 5 different channels on each one of them. I have them set on channel 3 right now. And then if I bring the other one up, it has an on button right there. And then you can see I can change channels on that one as well and go all the way around to channel 3 and switch back microphone. So again, receiver, transmitter. So let me turn these off. And let's plug it in. So I've got my condenser microphone here that I can put overhead. Always want to make sure that's snug. This one I'm set up. I have a cable right here. I have a snake in my studio that goes back when I do my pod mics, and you can see my pod mic right above my head, and that's the Rode pod mic. I have 4 of those. It's on the top of that corner shelf in the back. So plug this in. You can plug it in a mic cord. You can plug it directly into a snake port, and I have this already going into channel 4 on my Rodecaster Pro. So plug that in. I have the channel muted, so I'm going to turn them both on, make sure I have phantom power. Want to go on the board and make sure phantom power is off. It is off. Put my headphones on here. And I'm just going to hold this. So I'm going to mute this microphone after I make sure this is working. Check. Okay, and now we should have audio from this microphone, and it's got a different sound. We're going to A/B those. Again, condenser, Shure SM7B dynamic. This is the Shure SM7B, and again, I have effects on it, so you're not hearing this dry. I have the bottom feature that comes with the Aphex effects, which are high-tech effects that Rode has inside the Rodecaster Pro. You used to have to buy a channel strip to get the 2 effects that they have built in for Aphex. One is an Oriole exciter. I don't like that sound in my voice. It makes it I'm already got a nasally voice, so if I boost the bass, it kind of sounds better. And so I do some voiceover, so I just know that that's good for me. But the Oriole exciter, for someone that doesn't have a lot of high frequency and not that nasally sound to their voice, then it sounds pretty cool. So I have that turned on this mic. On this mic, let's go into the effects here. I'll switch cameras here for you. Oh, my Canon 5D3. That's why I don't recommend them for studio. It times out after 30 minutes. So guess what? We've been on for just over 30 minutes. Turn that back on. I want you to see the Rodecaster Pro, and I'm pretty sure you can see what I'm doing here. So it is back on. So let's cut to it. And so right here, I can push on channel 4, and it brings up the effects channel. And then I can go back arrow, and I can go into the audio processing effects right here. And you can see that I don't have Oriole Exciter enabled, but I click over, I do have big bottom enabled, and that's also enabled on this microphone. So, which is the condenser microphone. So I have big bottom on this, and I have big bottom set on this. So I'm gonna switch back over to this mic. And yes, I'm controlling all this myself. Good luck when you do it. So I'm going to show you that here in a second. You can actually probably see, no, you can't see the tip of it, but it's right there above me. And you should be hearing that right now. So let me know if you still have good audio. Yeah, it looks like we're sending good audio. And if I cut to camera 1, then you can see the microphone right here above me. So I have it set up at a height that's perfect for this other angle. And so at this angle, it's off camera, and I could be using that. Let me mute the other microphone, sorry. I could be using it. Let's bring it up just a little bit. So I could be doing my whole podcast this way, or I could be doing the whole podcast with this microphone. So let me mute it again. Turn this back on, and that's just a demo. And so what I did is I have an Elgato key light, and I use those here in the studio because I can operate them from my Stream Deck. And I have a video on those. It's not a super popular video, but I think that's crazy because it's a great light. I highly recommend it. They're soft enough to have about 3 feet away from your face. That's the light you see on my forehead right here. Obviously, if I had a big softbox like the one behind me, I'd have even softer light on me. I can control these lights and turn the level down. So let me lower this right now. And you can see that light go up and down. And then the other light behind me, which is designed to give me kind of a key around my shoulders, I can bring that light down as well. And I try to keep them both set at like 75. And that just balances the light. I can get on fast. And it makes me a little bright on this side. That drives me crazy when I watch the videos back. But for whatever it's worth, I love the fact that you have these kind of tools available to you. And so I have these wireless tools working on my behalf right now. And it just makes things easier because running a cable above my head is not exactly the way to go. You can power these from USB if you wanted to and keep them charged. And you're not gonna be able to use this. You'd have to get new ones. But this is a dual, so you can plug it into a power supply and sit it down and charge both of them, and they last quite a while. So I really like that tool, and that's just one of the tools I have here in the studio. Again, it's XLIve, and they have 2 versions of this, I know for sure, and I've had those in the studio for a while, and it's a great tool. The other thing I wanted to talk about is this little Joby mount for my phone, I don't have my phone hooked up right now because I wanted to demo this. But this will hook on a tripod, or you could hook it on a music stand if you get the right adapter, or you could hook it on the key light mounts, and that's what I'm using. And then I have their flex kit, which I did a video here on my channel. And so I have that key light hooked on a bar over my head, and then I have the flex kit getting it down here where I can use it. And again, there's a video here, and I'll put it in the notes tonight. But this is great because I can hook my phone up like this. And you've maybe seen some of my channels, or some of my videos, I actually hook this up here. And I can shine down on my desk, and now I have another camera angle. And this little adapter by Joby is available. They also make a new one that has a unpowered mount on the top, like you have on the top of your cameras. So you can hook up like a light on top of that, on top of your phone, or a shotgun microphone. And it's just a great tool. And I wanted to talk about that too. So I highly recommend this, like a light stand in this and your iPhone and this little microphone, you could go mobile. And I could have taken my stand. I had it in my car. I had this with me. But instead I did that little opening with Christopher holding my iPhone because I took him with me. So I had someone to hold the phone. But when I'm somewhere and I don't have anybody to help me, guess what? This is what I use on a light stand with me. And I did lots of videos for my last job. They wanted more videos rather than me always getting out my cameras. So I would just shoot videos on the fly, and I could always have that. And I could have this microphone, and I could have the light stand with me. And then I also, it doesn't come with it, but I also, and this is my wife's, she has one. I have the windscreen with it as well. And that you just take the little foam one off and you put the windscreen one on. And now you can get good audio even though you're outside and the wind's crazy. And we have wind almost all the time where I live. So I use this a lot when I'm outside. It's big and bulky, but it will make the audio sound amazing. And so that's, again, another tool. And then the last thing I wanted to show you here, actually two things, is these little mounts I found on Amazon. What I like about these is they get the monitor lower. So if you are looking at yourself in your monitor, it's not like a teleprompter, and I'm looking into teleprompters right now. So I can be looking directly in the camera all the time. But these, if you hook this on the bottom of your monitor, and the other side has the cold shoe mount, as you can see that, bring that back. Let me switch again to camera 3. So it's got the little cold shoe mount on it. Hopefully you can see that. And once I get my iPhone hooked up, and I'll show you these up close. So that's a great tool. So I wanted to talk about that. And then you can use your iPad, right, with the lightning adapter. And a lot of times I'll do a second camera. So I'll do a second camera right now. I have this going into my HyperDAC input. And I do that by going from this adapter on my phone to HDMI, right? And I can actually power it on this side to keep my phone from dying as a camera. This HDMI cable goes into the 6G, or it's the SDI 6G converter to HDMI. I can also feed 2 channels of audio, right and left, into it as well. So I could actually record my EOS R right directly into my HyperDeck because it has a recording function. But when I hit record on the HyperDeck, it switches to the input instead of the output. I just played that video on the play function. But if I hit record, my HyperDeck is now going to show this phone, and I'll switch to it. Oops, got to hit the button all the way. And here you go. So there's the little adapters that I was telling you about. And you can see that that has the cold shoe mount. And then here's the little Joby adapter. Take a look at that. It'll pivot so you can go landscape or portrait. So it rotates right there. See, it rotates, and I've beat this one up. It's time for a replacement. And then I have the pin, and this is by 53, but they make these. iPhone now, or iPads have a pin, and that's great for drawing on your iPad. So there's my iPad. I'm watching the chat and who's on here. Here's my dual screen. I keep telling everybody I'm going to show you this. This is my Asus ZenBook, and they have a new version. Turn this puppy on. You can watch it switch. So it has dual monitors right there. So I can drop stuff down there if I wanted to, and I could have YouTube videos right here while I'm working up here on something. So again, it's a cool little device, and there's the camera, obviously, that you're watching right now. Let's switch back. So that little Joby mount, this pin for being able to do drawings on my iPad. So I could switch to my iPad right now, open my paper app, and I could draw a diagram for you with a pen. And again, this pen just charges through USB. And I'm sorry, it's right here. I just plug that into a USB port and this pen charges. I love that feature. And I've had this for a long time. I've been just using it recently when I'm in a situation where I'm with people in the studio or online consulting and I need to show them some cable runs or things like that. It's nice to have something to write on. And that's why I use my iPad. So my iPad, my iPhone can go through the HyperDeck as an input. And then because I've hooked it up to the input and my HyperDeck is hooked into channel 7 and 8, all I have to do is switch to channel 7 and I have the camera. So I can switch to this anytime or I can switch to my iPad. So those are the things. So that wireless kit, the Rode LAV mic, the Joby little mounts, the wireless system, my microphone, my Rode NTG3, sorry. Those are great tools I have in the studio, and that's just a few of the things that help me out. Again, having this with a boom pole, I almost always have backup audio when I'm doing a shoot. I just did a shoot on Thursday and Friday for a dealership down in Oregon. You know, when I use my boom pole, it's nice to have the wireless ability and not have a cord hanging down from my microphone that's now overhead. And so that's hooked up. I'm going to shut these off right now because I just charged them before our live. And that flex arm works really well. I'll show you that here so you can see it and where it's mounted. But again, I can screw this on and off and shut this off now. And then I'll probably just plug it back in and charge it, both of them, just to make sure they're ready to go the next time we go. Shift back to this camera. I notice occasionally the HyperDeck will just not switch to it. And so I'm going to pull the disc out and put it back in so it reads the card. And I've learned that the hard way. And for some reason, I've lost my camera signal. So we're going to skip that. So going live doesn't mean you're not going to have something not work. But again, the HyperDeck seems to be working fine. It's just not switching over to the phone when I hit the record button like it normally does. So I'll have to cover the flex arm later. But again, I have a video here on the key lights, and I also did a video with my son and his key light Air. So there's 2 videos on those lights, and I love them because you can put them in the wireless system and control them from the Stream Deck. And would love to show you that if I can get things working again. But it's actually saying no signal, so something must be awry. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today, the venue, and just talk a little bit about the cameras that you can use. So you could buy the controllable piezo cameras that you can operate and aim them. You can also use DSLRs like I am here in the studio. You have all these different tools. You have the ability to do things in the ATEM Mini all the way up to the Extreme ISO, and those are very usable, great for in studio. And I'm live streaming right now from the Extreme ISO, and it seems to be doing great. My bit rate will go anywhere from 2 if I'm just doing graphics to when I'm doing video to about 6.3, and I'm on the high setting. Hopefully the video looks good and you guys are getting some things out of it. So let's look at some questions. Sorry I couldn't show you those things. My mobile camera is not being very nice. It's not playing nice. It's good to have you on here, Alori. It's Alori Media. I hope I'm saying that right. Do you guys have any questions that you want me to answer tonight? Thank you, Freddie. Audio is okay. I did glance down and saw that. And we've got Dallas here. We have Toronto. We have, oh, wow, Freddie, you let it out. The cat's out of the bag. Venezuela. Barbados. I can't even pronounce that. I apologize. I speak English great. I just can't use it for some words, so I apologize. So can you repeat what the macro was for? Well, so that macro that I created was for this SuperSource setup. So let me cut back to SuperSource here, Freddie. So I created a macro, so if I mess this up, I can hit the macro button, and the macro is the ability in all the ATEM software has the macro setting. Let me bring this over here. Hang tight here. I got to make an adjustment to my monitor. So what I do, Freddie, is I program a macro in the software. And the way you do that is you record in the macro, and I'll do a demo of that here in one of the future videos. Let me see if I can just fix my display settings here. Yeah, I rebooted my laptop, and one of the downsides of your laptop is it doesn't save your share settings. So I don't want to mess it up now because it's going to throw off my SuperSource. But in the macro settings in the ATEM software, you have the ability to create macros. And now on the Extreme and the Extreme ISO, you have six buttons that you can program, and they're assigned to macro 1 through 6. So if I create a macro, one macro, which is in slot number 1, then I can actually control it from the front of the ATEM. And let me set this iPad down and switch over here to camera 3. So those buttons are right here. There's 6 buttons, and button 1 is assigned to reset my macro. If I just need it really quickly for a demo, I can hit macro button 1. It's going to reset this format. I didn't set it up. I didn't tell it what camera angles I was using. It knows this camera angle, but it doesn't necessarily know these 2 camera angles. And I have to reprogram that macro. So hopefully that answers your question. So button 1 on my ATEM Extreme ISO is assigned to a macro that I created for this SuperSource format. The yellow background, these 2 pictures on my side, and this frame. That's not a preset inside the ATEM software. So I wanted this look, and I wanted to be able to show 2 things in my studio, and I could go right now into the software and change these things. I just don't want to muddy the waters here tonight. I wasn't set up to demo that. So I hope that answers you the question about the macro, Freddie. Again, that gives me the ability to have 6 macros on the fly. And if I was doing an outdoor event and I didn't have all of the monitors and everything I have, I would just be able to use those macros to bring up assigned SuperSource with camera angles. And obviously if I'm using my media pool, I have to have the right video or the right still frames loaded in there in Media Player 1 and Media Player 2. And I could literally assign over here that to Media Player 1 and that to Media Player 2. But right now this is camera 3. And this one down here is assigned to camera 1. And camera 1 obviously is this angle right here, right? And camera 3 is this above angle. And then SuperSource is a button that I just push here on the front of my ATEM, and it brings up my preset for my SuperSource because I have it set up to this default, and I can save that in the settings. So hopefully that answers your question. Is it cold? Is it cold now? I'm not sure what that question means. Is it cold in my area? No, it's warmed up. It's nice and toasty here. In fact, yesterday when I was doing a couple consults here with people for setting up their home studios, I was cooking in this room because I didn't have the air conditioner on. Right now, I actually have our air conditioner on here in our house. And so it's decently nice in here right now. So again, I apologize for not being able to show you this other angle. It's too late to try to set it up a different way. I can reboot this app, see if maybe that's causing it. So let me turn off. And I use Filmic Pro. It's an app that you can purchase and download on your smartphone. It's actually right here on the bottom right. I just click on it right there. And it brings up the app, Filmic Pro. And then I should have my camera. Let me try my HyperDeck one more time. And it's just not happy right now. So the good news is I have a way to turn my HyperDeck on and off by a little remote switch. So this controls an outlet, and I could turn it off and on. Should I dare do that while we're live? I just turned it off. Push the button again. It's booting back up. And then one thing about the HyperDeck, every time it boots up, you have to change the input. So I've got to push the little menu button and see what the IP address is. And then I've got to change the IP address in the software. So let me bring the software up. And that gives me the ability to remotely control it. So I plugged in the IP address, and now we'll see if I can actually control the camera. Yeah, just being stubborn tonight. So I gave it an effort. So I use macros to add Ken Burns effect to still images in the media source. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm gonna get some of those effects and use them here in the studio when I get further in the SuperSource. Right now, a lot of the things that I'm doing is what you see right now, just demoing the ATEM. And I do want to do some different things with my live stream. I have another live stream I've taken a break from. This is week number 3. And when that goes again, I want to have some notes on this side of the screen and be able to use SuperSource for that. So hopefully that'll happen. My HyperDeck fan is pretty loud. I guess I could give you a demo of that. Here you go. Here, let's do the remote mic. You should be hearing that. Let me know in the notes if that worked. I have my headphones right here. Let me put those on. Let's make sure this microphone's working. Yeah, that's the fan. So it's quite loud. So the fan's quite loud. There is a fan mod, but you're pretty well avoiding the warranty. So obviously the scuttlebutt out there in the world of the HyperDeck is that it's one of the loud devices, and you can remote control it from the software, so you don't have to have it on your desk. You can have a HDMI output on it, so you can have a confidence monitor, so you don't have to see the monitor on the front. But I do have to check the IP address because I have it set so it changes all the time. I know you can go in and change those settings, but I like to make sure everything's working, and it forces me to double check the HyperDeck every time before a live stream. So I've kind of left it that way. So hopefully that answers your question. It is loud, but again, the microphone's pointing away from it. I'm 2-3 feet away from it, and I've never had anybody say anything on the stream that they heard it. So I don't know if it's quieter. So I hope they'll change the fan eventually. Literally, I've seen some mods. If you Google it, the HyperDeck fan mod, I think it'll pop up. If I find that video this week, I'll drop it in here. I'm not sure anybody will listen that far and watch it. Maybe you will. But I saw that mod, and then he actually broke out the little screens on the side that were punched into the steel frame to get more airflow. So it still made noise even after he bought the super quiet fan until he popped that out. And so I don't want to do that. I want to just keep it where it is. And like I said, I could move it further away, but I like it right here on the desk. And you can see it in the SuperSource. It's literally right here next to my Extreme and next to my Pro. So the last thing I wanted to share is this, and then we're going to go make sure I did hit all the questions. Looks like I did. Hit me up again if I missed it. Is that I still have the ATEM Mini Pro lit up. You can see it right here. I'll switch to that overhead camera. Hopefully it won't die on us. So I still have it right over here. The reason I have it over there is because I have the second HDMI output going to it. I have it split going to a confidence monitor, so I can see what you see right here on top of my Canon 5D Mark IV. On my EOS R, I have over here on the other side, I actually have the multi-view over there. I can also change that to program view if I wanted to. So I have HDMI 2 set to program view, and I can also set it to my my Canon 5D Mark IV and just see my face, but I like to see with the program up there to make sure that I have the right thing on the screen, and I always constantly glance up there. So I have that HDMI split, and it's going out to my ATEM Mini Pro. Now, why would I do that? Two reasons. One, if I want to demo the Extreme, and then I can send the program to my channel 1 of my ATEM Mini Pro, and then set it to program out in the HDMI out and use it as a confidence monitor, and then go ahead and stream from it. And so I can make changes and stuff and show the setup software in the Extreme, and I will be doing that here, so I have it set up that way. I also have the ability to stream from it, believe it or not, to my streaming bridge. And so I can demo what my recording looks like into my streaming bridge. So that's another thing that I'm doing, and I'll cover that in another video. So I'm still using the ATEM Mini Pro. It's going to be easy to unhook if I go remote. I take these cameras with me when I do some of my outside shooting. I leave my 5D Mark III here, but I take camera 1 and camera 2 with me, and I just leave the friction arms by Manfrotto right where they're at. I also take the monitors with me. My shoot I did this week, I only took this monitor, the Portkeys BM5, because it's super small, and it's a 5-inch monitor, and it's also super bright. In fact, I think I was outside in full sun, and I only had it set at like 40% brightness. It's crazy bright. And then the ICANN isn't very bright. I think it's like 300 nits. It's an inside monitor, but it's 7-inch, and it's easier to use as a confidence monitor, especially if you're looking at multi-view on that monitor. And then I also have the BenQ monitor, 32-inch right here, where I can have 4 inputs come in. And so I have my HDMI 1 going to it split, so I can see right now the multi-view. I have my HyperDeck HDMI out going to it, so I can see what's playing in the HyperDeck. I can also see the camera when I have the camera hooked up. And then I also have in it the ability to see my desktop, so I can drag things over there if I'm showing my desktop and be able to see it over here instead of looking at my laptop right here. And then I also have my second PC right here. Let me switch cameras to camera 2. And then right over here, get my headphones out of the way, I have this PC. So I also have it hooked in here. That's my backup PC, and I actually had the other night an issue with my laptop. For some reason, I couldn't open up Explorer. It was fine the next day, but I actually used it to offload some video from my Thursday shoot. So Thursday night, I wanted to get that video backed up twice, and so I offloaded it onto my other PC as a backup, and it was great to have that. If something happened to my laptop, I can make some switches real quick and still stream. You know, and I don't have to go from my laptop to stream, but I could still stream and have a computer to be able to get all my graphics ready. So I keep it all up to date, and it also will display on the big monitor behind me, which is a big TV, which is from my man cave, which is what this was before I turned it into a home production studio. So I can still sit in here and watch TV. I can still sit in here and play Xbox if I want to, watch Netflix, but most of what I do in here is work these days. So that's it. Man, I hope that you guys have enjoyed today's live stream. I thank you so much for joining me. I don't see any more questions. I'll try to be on here again next Tuesday. Occasionally I'll do a surprise stream on the weekends when there's something going on that I can't wait to Tuesday to show you. I want to again say thank you to C3 and the team there. Jason Vorpagel for inviting me in and letting me and my son Christopher be in the background and see all the nuts and bolts there. It was incredible. Their setup is bigger than any other setup I've seen, and their stream looks very professional, and I'll show you that. I'll leave a link here later in the notes, so come back and check that out. So thank you so much again for joining me all around the world. Those of you that didn't come live, you're watching this delayed, thank you for joining me as well. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you will. I hope that you'll like these videos and share them. And then if you want alerts, ring the bell, and that'll give you an alert of when I'm live again and when I have videos uploaded. And again, you can look at those videos I talked about. There's even a video here on my son's NZXT PC, and I show mine side by side with that, and that's our best performing video here on the channel, because lots of people like to see me interacting with my son, who is a gamer, and he's in the room next to me gaming any chance he gets. So, and I was a PC gamer years ago, and so I appreciate you gamers that check out this channel as well. And all of you guys who are doing video production and photography. I do have some more plans for some photography things here on the channel as well. So I hope you're enjoying these live streams. So that's it from Keith here in Life Journey Production Studios. I don't have any graphics or anything ready to leave tonight. So, and I should, let's just go ahead and add a graphic here while we're sitting here. So I'm going to go in the media pool. I'm going to find a decent still image here. Drop it in, and this is my little logo all over the screen. So I hope you enjoy that as we go out. And until the next video, I am Keith, and as always, it's a pleasure to be live with you guys. So here's some music, and we'll see you next time.